We teach our children not to lie, not to steal, and not to hit people. I would think that the basic level of morals, that basic level of morals would be universal, universally applicable, universally laudable. But something interesting has happened in the hero genre. Has happened. I don't know. I've only been following Tokusatsu for 11 years, specifically Kamen Rider, a little bit of Super Sentai mixed in there. But there seems to be a thing where people enjoy the darker aspects of Kamen Rider, or with shows like Gaim, or where people prefer. And I haven't seen these shows mostly because they contain partial nudity. The Garo shows, and that's not something I'm interested in watching. Those shows seem to be dark. They have work done by Keita Memiya, whose work on Kamen Rider Zeto, and I think he directed J and did monster design for like the Fog Mother or whatever on J. Makes me curious about the shows, and other than having seen how beautiful those suits are, I'm done. I saw how pretty the suits are. I don't really need to see more of that. It'd be interesting, yeah, but the barrier to entry is a little too high for me because I really don't want to look at certain things or be shown certain things. And, I'm an adult. I can choose to look at what I want. And, anyway, I I was supposed to do one of those cool, smooth transitions that I've done in the past, but I just can't. This is MJ. I love Tokusatsu, and right now I want to talk about Kamen Rider 01, episode 27? I'm pretty sure this is episode 27. I have lots of problems with Amatsu Gai, but he's a villain. I've realized just in thinking about this episode overnight, because I finished it last night, early in the evening, that my bigger problem is with Yaiba Yua. And I wanted to like Yaiba Yua. I have enjoyed her as a character. I've enjoyed her, I've enjoyed different aspects of her character. I've enjoyed her dunking on Isamu. I've enjoyed her being clever and sharp. I've enjoyed how tough she is. That I've enjoyed the fact that in the meta way that she's been treated by the show, she is shot just like any other Kamen Rider, not like a female Kamen Rider. She's shot like a Kamen Rider, and that's the end of it, and that's a wonderful thing. However, I don't want to let my appreciation for the first main female writer cloud my assessment of the character and what she's doing in the show so far, because she is acting as morally reprehensible, as evil as Amatsu Gai. Amatsu Gai has lied. He has defrauded people, stolen things. He has inflicted harm on people and property wantonly and willingly. He has violated all those basic rules that we teach our kids not to do. He is clearly and plainly the villain, or at least he's been aggressing against people, at minimum, for a greater cause. Does that greater cause warrant or excuse the things that he's been doing? I would tell you no. Other people might say yes, but I would rather stand on principle and not judge things on a basis of what are the outcomes. I'd rather judge things on a moral basis. Is this the right thing to do or not? If you have moral principles, I think you should stick with them. Anyway, Yaiba Yua has been 100% complicit in everything that Amatsu Gai has done because she's had knowledge of everything that he's done, especially with the raid risers and things like that. And I think that's unacceptable. I think that's completely unacceptable of her. I think she is a villain now because of standing by and letting him do these things. And that if she's going to be a heroic character, she needs a redemption arc. She needs to rebel against Amatsu Gai. She needs to do something, have agency, which she's a character in a fictional show. Agency has been stripped from her. She even got a look from Aruto in this episode because she apologized to Amatsu Gai when she shouldn't have for speaking out of turn, and it was really weird and uncomfortable, and even Aruto noticed it, and again, like I said, he kind of made a face, and I don't know if she caught that he saw that moment and she looked away or what, but there was definitely an exchange that happened between the three of them, or the, like with the three of them in that room. And I thought that was good, and I hope that this is the start of her rebellion against Amatsu Gai and her redemption arc, because she's in need of redemption for the things that she's done for him and the things that she's allowed him to do, and the fact that she's stayed quiet about it this entire time. Now, if she has something against hidden intelligence, that's fine. If there's some reason she wants to take the company down, to cause the stock to dwindle, whatever, you can be angry. You can have a vendetta against somebody. But once you start crossing the line where you aggress against somebody, that's where I have a problem. And I feel like Kamen Rider would have a problem with you too. And I feel like she is failing to live out the spirit of Kamen Rider. Now, why am I spending so much time talking about Yaiba Yua? Because it really hit me. I wanted to talk about how Aruto instead, how what's it, Ichikunosuke? I watched Overtime for the first episode, and I watched Genom Corp for the second episode, and they had him as 119 Nosuke, Genom did, and that really threw me for a loop. They did have their second track, which I neglected to turn on, so I'm not going to gripe at them and say, oh, they ruined it, because they didn't. I had the choice, and I just didn't take it, because I figured, you know what, I can live with 119 Nosuke. And I only think I remember that Ichikunosuke was the name, which it's an interesting name. But anyway, kind of reminds me of, well, anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent because I wanted to talk about the fact that Ichikunosuke, 119, whatever, was so darn heroic, was so great. He embodied the spirit of a Kamen Rider. He embodied the spirit of heroism because he was willing to give up his life, to sacrifice, because he knew that as a Humagear with his Humagear body, he'd be able to lose the competition by sacrificing his life and enabling Homura to go ahead and rescue those civilians. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It made me emotional. Besides the tension. So, anyway, I didn't say what I thought about the episode. I thought this was a great episode. There were some parts where it kind of dragged and sagged and wasn't so great. Wasn't up to, what I expect. But honestly, that was probably a few minutes in the middle, and the rest of it was really good because we had all that awesome heroism from Ichikunosuke, and I didn't really like, for some reason, Aruto going after the raider. I don't know, it felt kind of funny and kind of tacked on. So maybe that was part of what I didn't like. But another part of, but then things looped back around, and we had the awesome scene where Aruto goes and pulls Ichikunosuke's body out of the burning building. And Yaiba, who thinks of the Humagear as tools, is like, hey, why are you doing that? Why are you showing such kindness to your, Humagear employee who is programmed? Sorry, now I'm thinking of Digimon. They must be programmed for courage. This, Humagear employee of yours is programmed to give up his life willingly and to sacrifice for you. Oh, I see a possum. How cute. They just trundle along. So cute. Anyway, yeah, so she's shocked that he would do this grand gesture of getting the corpse, basically, of Ichikunosuke and, kind of honoring it by pulling him out of the burnt building. She's saying, leave it. They'll just, bring the water hoses and put the fire out all the way, and you don't have to worry about that. And he's like, no, I'm not going to leave one of my employees behind. Like, if I did that, I think he says something like, if I did that, I'd be a bad president. And that gives the context for that exchange between him and Amatsu Gai. And, like, not only does it give the context for that, but it also shows off that spirit of Kamen Rider, because Aruto is embodying that spirit of Kamen Rider by seeing people as people, seeing this Humagear as a person and not as a tool and not as something to be used and disposed of. Like, he honors he gives honor to, and I think the spirit of Kamen Rider gives honor to, or has a deference for, respect for human life, kind of no matter how superior or inferior it is, because, I mean, Kamen Rider is a cyborg who is a superior specimen, and if you go back to Ichimonji, no, I mean, Ichimonji's great, but really, I'm getting confused. I'm thinking of Rider 1. If you go to, so Hayate Ichimonji's, why am I blanking? Anyway, if you go back to Rider 1, to Hiroshi Fujioka, who played him, he's supposed to be this amazing specimen, and he's, beyond normal humans in his regular life, but then Shocker takes him and gives him this exalted body, which is supposed to make him, well, I mean, he is literally superhuman. He's, the cyborg with all these amazing abilities, and yet he always gives deference to the little people, to the common man, and that's what Kamen Rider is about. As much as being, taken and having your body changed and, having the same power source as your villain, it's what you do with that power source, because the villain in the piece always neglects, always looks down on other people because they are in a different class, whereas Kamen Rider comes from that same place and knows that they have a responsibility to help those people because of all the power that they have. And man, that's just beautiful. And this episode really shows that with Aruto. And then on the other hand, man, we had Jin facing Thouser facing Zaia, and like when when Jin or Hirobi kills him, if they in fact kill him, I won't be mad. All the things that he's done, all the evil that he's done, he's not only aggressed against people, but he's manipulated these Humagear, Hirobi and Jin specifically, and I have a hard time holding them fully responsible when they are Humagear, not because they're inferior beings, but because they don't have the full range of humans and the way that they've lived their lives and been raised and everything. It feels analogous to me to victims of abuse who one day kill their abuser kind of out of the blue, and they get off because it's a type of justifiable homicide, because they have suffered so much under this person and they felt like they were imminently in fear for their lives. Because, I mean, if you think about it, what's this guy going to do once he's done with them? And, of course, I'm not in the punch a Nazi camp, because I think you can't just go and randomly hit somebody who has bad ideas, bad politics, wants bad things. Sorry, I'm not. I don't think Kamen Rider would be either. And I think he'd jump in there and protect, one of these. Well, if I'm a Nazi now, because I said that, he'd protect me from you, Tokusatsu fan. And that's just the truth. And if you can't face that, then you need to think long and hard about these hero shows that you're watching. If you imagine that you could actually attack somebody unprovoked because they have, trash ideas, as people like to say. Anyway, the situation of abuse between Amatsu Gai and Jin and Hirobi is such that I feel they'd totally be justifiable in doing something to him, although he is actively aggressing against people. And we saw in this episode even where he destroyed that evidence that would prove just how dirty he is, and the fact that he's been funding and supplying the terrorists, and then pretending that he needs to stop them, and then he's been like a cop who yells, he's got a gun, he's reaching for his waistband, and then does a bad killing. That's what this guy's basically been doing. And I think we can all agree that that's bad, and that people who do that type of thing should be held accountable for it. And he's definitely one of those people. So anyway, I'm not like some of these people who think Jin and Hirobi are, innocent and are in need of protection. Like, they should probably suffer some sort of consequences for what they've been doing, what they've been choosing to do. But also you have to look at who's been supplying them, who radicalized them, who caused all this to happen. And it was Amatsu Gai. He's guilty, plain as day. And I cannot wait for him to be taken down. And I hope Yaiba Yua does it. And I even think it'd be a neat arc if, much like Gintoku in Kamen Rider Build, if she had a very serious redemption arc, and went through some things before she was fully back on the side of the angels, so to speak. That's all I have to say. Hey, if you've got some comments or feedback on this episode, or anything that I had to say, any of the hot takes, controversial stuff I might have said, let me hear it. Let's have it out in the comments. I'd like to do that. I'm going to start, I think, going back now that Kamen Rider is legally available in the United States, streaming. I'm going to go back and start looking at Kamen Rider one by one from Kamen Rider 1971 on. And I know there's just the 98 episodes there now. But I'm going to start watching those and reviewing those and popping them in here. If 01 turns unwatchable, I'll leave it alone and just focus on that. But other than that, I'll probably sprinkle it in once or twice, well, probably once a week for a while. And then who knows what my schedule will look like after 01 is over. I might just dedicate myself all to vintage Kamen Rider. And I wouldn't mind that at all. And I'll also watch all those movies I need to catch up on. MJ Loves Toku can be found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Check out mjmunoz.com for more of my work. I have other review series. I have another writer cast where I sample all the Kamen Riders from the Heisei era, from Kuga to Zi-O. Don't ask how I did that before it was legal. I also have King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, where I review every single episode of Mobile Fighter G Gundam. Go Ultra, where I discuss SSSS.Gridman and Ultraman New Generation Heroes, Ultra Fight Galaxy New Generation Heroes, and the Netflix Ultraman series as well. I also have Swinging Through Comics, where I review and discuss comics, mostly Marvel, mostly early stuff. I'm going through Captain America right now. I also recently reviewed the Rise of Kylo Ren series. I finished all 4 of those and have those reviews up there. I also have a spin-off Star Wars show nested in that channel, Swinging Through Comics, called MJ Loves Star Wars, where I talk all about Star Wars. I'm hyped for the High Republic coming up. I think it's later this year in 2020. It's like September, October 2020. Anyway, I have been reviewing some older books and just kind of talking about some topics, some speculation on the High Republic, because I'm excited about all that, so you can see that there as well. And I also have links for all of those things, audio podcast versions of those, as well as my original writing projects on my blog, mjmunoz.com. If you like what I do and want to support me, my Coffee and Redbubble accounts have you covered. I have some writer merch that I've made, so you can look at that and get it if you want. Relevant links below. If you had a good time, like and share this, and leave a comment as well. Subscribe and ring that bell to stay current on weekly 01 reviews. And remember, you don't have to shout henshin to be a hero.